So we're going to start off with a little bit of knife skills. So Ken, if you'll come on over here, I'm going to show you a few things. First of all, knives. A good knife is a really important tool. If you buy a good knife, you'll buy it once, as opposed to buying an inexpensive knife that you have to replace over the years. So this is called a saute chef's knife, and this is a typical French chef's knife. Okay, either one of these will work. This one has a nice tip for doing some little cutting like this. So first of all, we're going to make the eggplant parmesan. This is an eggplant. What you're going to look for is something that has a nice smooth skin, isn't wrinkled, and doesn't have a lot of different dark spots in it, okay? So this is an eggplant, and you're going to trim this up. I'm going to show you this right here and how to hold the knife properly. You want to start with your hand here. Don't be afraid to put your hands on the knife or right back here, okay? You're not going to cut yourself because it would take a lot of work to get your finger under there. Okay, so we're going to start with this sliding chopping motion. Don't try to power through it, slide it. Okay. You bought the whole blade, use the whole blade. Okay, so I'm going to have you do that end as well, and then I'm going to have you go ahead and slice this up. Okay. It's pretty important to cut these into uniform depth or width, because you want it all to cook at the same time. If you have it too thin, it's going to cook too fast. If you have it too thick, it's not going to cook fast enough. And if you have some thin and some thick, some's going to cook fast, some's going to cook too thin. So I'm going to give you an example about what I want these slices to look like, okay? So about like this, all right? So go ahead and pick up the knife. All right, yeah, there you go. Awesome. Okay, it's a little bit thick, a little bit thinner. Look at it right like this. Okay, good. Good. Watch your thumb. That's it. Well done.
Keep on going?
Yep, I'm going to cut it all up. Well done. Now as you get into the thicker part of the eggplant, it gets a little bit harder, so give it a good slice. There you go. Slide that blade all the way through. There you go, that's much better. And then watch your thumb. As you get to the end here, I'm going to have you stop just real quick. As you get to the end, turn it around and get a better grip here and get rid of this piece that you aren't going to use, okay? And then take your hands like this, okay? So you're less likely to cut your thumb. There you go. Give that a shot. There you go. And you might get one more slice out of that. Okay, well done. Okay, the other thing is make sure you give yourself enough space on your cutting board so that you're not cutting through the product that you've already cut up. And also invest in a good cutting board. Invest in something that's larger. These little cutting boards, kind of hard to work with. So you want to do something that's going to give you plenty of room to work on. Okay? Eggplant can be bitter. So what we're going to do, we're going to lay this out, spray the pan, a little pan spray here, and we're going to lay these slices of eggplant out and brush it with oil, and then we're going to put some salt and pepper on it. You'll often read recipes for eggplant that say to salt the eggplant before cooking it. What that does, it brings out the moisture of the eggplant, and it brings out any of the bitterness and gets rid of it. So what we're going to do here is brush these, and they will absorb quite a bit of the oil. So give it a nice brushing of oil and let you work on that. And then we're going to sprinkle some salt, and I'm going to use a little bit of white pepper. Regular black pepper works as well. I just like the flavor of the white pepper. It just is a little less strong. Okay. The other thing is don't be afraid of salt. It's meant to enhance flavor. You don't want to do too much, of course, but I've found that when you're trying to sprinkle something with sugar, salt, that you're going to want to give it a little bit of height when you're doing it. And let me show you what I'm talking about. Gravity helps a great deal. See how it's spreading around? It's not just, if you try to do it right like this, you're going to get a concentration of salt on one spot. So by spreading it and sprinkling it up here, gravity helps you out, okay? So we're just going to put this in the oven until it's nice and browned. By spraying the pan on the other side, we don't have to turn it because the pan spray is going to act as a lubricant for the other side and get it nice and brown. Okay. All right, while we're waiting for that to get nice and brown, we're going to take our garlic clove and we're going to smash it, take the paper off, that's what the skin is called, paper, and then learn how to mince. To mince means an ununiform chop, okay? So it doesn't need to be in exact pieces. So I'm going to show you real quick how to do this, and then I'm going to have you do one for yourself, okay? All right, so you're going to take your knife, put it on directly onto the clove, smash it down like that. That breaks up the clove, and it allows the paper to come off easily, okay? I'll get rid of that. Sometimes these garlic cloves have this sprout in the middle of it. You want to discard that. That is what causes people to have indigestion sometimes with garlic. Okay, so you want to get rid of that little sprout there. I missed, okay. Now then, you've got a flat surface more or less. You just take your knife and you're going to hold it like this with your hand on the near the tip, but not all the way down on the tip, up here. And then you're, with a rocking motion, you're going to start chopping this garlic clove, okay? Bring it back, chop again, and then what you're going to do is take your knife at a slight angle, about 30-degree angle, and we're going to press and chop. Okay, you see what I'm doing with the blade here? Okay, so I'm flattening it out, and now I'm going to run the knife through again. All right, I'm going to put this over here, give you another clove. Let you have at it. There you go. Okay. And don't worry about that. It'll all come off when you smash it. Okay, just like that. Yep. There you go. Kind of feels good too, right? Get some. All right. And did you get all the paper? I think you had a little bit left there. All right. Now, do you have a? You've got a little bit of a green bit through there. You want to get rid of that. Not all cloves of garlic will have that, but if you notice it, just get rid of it. Just pull it out. There you go. Just put it over here. That's good. Okay. Good. And it's just a rocking motion. If you notice the shape of this French chef's knife, it's slightly angled, and that's what enables you to do that kind of that rocking motion. You want to pull it off. There you go. Okay, you want to be careful that you don't go down the side of the slicing edge, but just to this, the other sides, two sides. Okay? Good. Okay, while he's doing that, excuse me, I'm going to turn on our pan, and I'm just going to put just a bit of oil, olive oil, in the bottom of the pan and get it hot. All right. You always want to make sure your oil and your pan are hot before you put any product into it, because if you put it into a cold pan with cold oil, as the pan heats up, so is your product, and it'll absorb all the oil, and that's not what you want. You want a nice sear on your whatever it is you're cooking. Okay, so we're looking to get a nice sizzle on this garlic. So we're going to let this get hot, and let that get hot, and then we're going to use your knife to scrape it up. Again, just being very careful with your fingers here. And we're going to put it in the pan. We're going to wait just a second for that. To this, we're going to add some tomatoes and some salt and pepper and some basil. I like using fresh basil if possible, and now's the time. We're starting to see some good fresh basil. You can chop this basil into what's called a chiffonade cut, or you can just tear it. Either way. All right, so and you hear that sound, that nice sizzle, that's what we're looking for. We want it to sizzle. Okay. All right, so when I was talking about a chiffonade cut, it's called a ribbon cut. I'm just going to stack the basil up like this, and then roll it up and slice it through. A chiffonade cut is called a ribbon cut because what's going to happen is you're going to get cuts like this. Okay? So again, if you would, give it a practice, nice and thin. Yeah, use the whole knife. There you go. And watch your fingers. Good. Excellent. Very well. Okay. This cut is good for leafy greens and lettuces. It's not really good for something like a meat or a chicken product, but nice thin. Not yet. Actually, go ahead and we're going to put we got the garlic nicely sauteing. Just going to put tomato in, and then we're going to put a little bit of salt. I like to start these dishes with salt. I find that if you salt from the very beginning, you use less salt because the salt is absorbed into the food, and you wound up having to use less topical addition of salt. Okay, so we're just going to let that simmer. Okay, we're going to let it simmer for a few minutes. We want it to thicken up. We'll add the fresh basil towards the end of cooking because we want it to get all the flavor. We don't want to lose the flavor by having it cook too long in there. Okay, meanwhile, we're going to look at our cheeses. Okay, what I have here is mozzarella cheese that's shredded in the pouch, and this is quite good. This is fine. This is fresh mozzarella. You find it in a ball. It's usually in the specialty cheese area of your grocery stores. I like this a lot. It melts well. It has a nice flavor. It doesn't tend to get as hard as the shredded. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use both today. We're going to use a little bit of this in the layers, and then we're going to use this on the top. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do is just let this cook down. All right, and we're going to get our container ready. Now then, I have these little ramekins. This is a good size for one person. This is a good size unless you're really hungry, or not really hungry, then it's good for two. Something along the lines of this type of casserole is good as well. And this one would do a double recipe. This would fit that nicely. Okay, I like to spray the pans just to give it a little bit of ease of cleaning. And what we're going to do, we're going to layer our eggplant, and then we're going to layer of eggplant, some tomato sauce, then we're going to put the cheese and do another layer, and we're going to end up with some tomato sauce and cheese. Okay, so our sauce has started to reduce a bit. That's what we're looking for. It only takes about 5, maybe 10 minutes, depending on what temperature you've got your pan turned on to. But we were looking for it to thicken up a bit. Okay, so now Ken's going to start layering this. He's got the cooked eggplant and started with a layer on the bottom. To that, he's going to put about 1/3 of your tomato sauce in it on top of that, and then he's going to layer that with some cheese. And we're going to start with the shredded cheese, and we're going to end up with the fresh. Okay, have at it. Okay, all right, so he's just going to give it a nice, about 1/3, I'd say, of this particular sauce. Now you can buy a sauce, but this is just so easy, so simple. And it's, you know, we're going into the summertime, so you have the opportunity for fresh tomatoes to use those up. And that's a really, really good way to use your tomatoes. Okay, and then a nice, and it's to taste, it's to your taste, however you'd like it. Oh dear, do we have enough cheese? Okay, now you're going to do another layer of the eggplant. All right. Now it doesn't have to be completely covered. Again, it's as to your taste. So that's more sauce. All right, and we don't want a whole lot of the juices, but a little bit of the juice is fine. And again, you can cook up a bunch of this, put it in your refrigerator, and have it for use later. This is just a really fast sauce. All right, then some more of the cheese.
Oh, it smells good.
It does smell good. All right. Now one more layer, put another layer of the eggplant. And again, don't overfill it so much that it's going to bubble over, but nicely, that's fine. That's perfect. Okay? Go ahead and put a little bit more sauce on there. And then you're going to finish with this fresh mozzarella. We're just going to slice that in however thick you like, slices, and
just put all the sauce.
Go ahead and put it all on there. Might as well. Beautiful. Just set that aside. All right. Now then, go ahead and do a few slices of this. And what we do want to do is cover this up. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. And again, hold your knife. There you go, thank you. Hold your knife with a nice firm grip. If you hold your knife loosely, you're more likely to cut yourself, especially when you have a product like this that is a little soft. So you want to have a nice firm grip on it. That looks like it's going to be just right. Okay. All right. Beautiful. Now this is ready to go in the oven, and he's going in for the last bit. Excellent. More cheese is better. Okay, this is ready to go in the oven. We're going to put it in a 375-degree oven until the cheese is melted and you see bubbly juices all around. Shouldn't take very long, maybe 15 minutes. Can you hold it? or go ahead.